Yo, Puff. I don't know why, but my PlayStation app, that shit be kicking me out. It don't be connecting sometimes. I just had to re-log into this shit just now. Should be giving me hell. But I just got off the phone with a patent office about to get this brush holder patented. Got to get the patent for the brush holder. That shit gonna be a little expensive, but not if the money comes back. They talking about $1,010 just to get a patent, but it's a 14-year patent. So we'll see how it goes. Get that new patent. Probably try to get that shit tomorrow. Gotta ask one of my homies to invest in me though, so we go half on this patent. But really, I don't want to go half on the patent. I may go half on the first order of units, but the patent itself, I think I might want that shit in my name by myself, so it'd be my own patent. But damn, $1,010 for a patent though, damn. I ain't willing to kick all that out. I got to make that money. You know what they say? Scared money don't make money. You gotta spend money to make money. You feel me? So I spend that $1,010. That shit gonna make me $1,010,010. Thanks, babe. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, y'all. I don't want to go half on the patent. Can't 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 go half on the patent.
Did you know FanDuel? Well, what we told you that we've got an ace up our sleeve. Introducing FanDuel Casino. Now you can play casino games like blackjack, roulette, and online slots for real cash right from your FanDuel Sportsbook app. So when we say there's more ways to win on FanDuel, you can take that to the bank. New casino players, play your first 24 hours risk-free on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Get up to $200 back.
It's not about control. It's not like he wants to kill. He just doesn't want to die. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, we working on that new commission over
You
here.
know, I'm living in a war zone. I feel like I can represent my generation so much because I just shoot this and that's but now, I cannot die. I can't live straight. You know, I'm not suicidal.
Oh no,
I'm
no,
pinned up until y'all already know what time it is. And then after that, boom, it's all over. And we can sleep with it until I fall. But that's how it is. Reason being is because if I can't live free, if I can't live the same,
Yeah, what the heck I do with the lighter? Oh, I see it.
because God has cursed me to see what life should be like.
Whoa! I don't want no contract like that. Yeah, you work for us, but if you come up with any idea while you're in our employment, that's our idea, and we're gonna utilize that. So yeah, you just think about that, buddy. So do what you're told. Don't sit here and try to be smart and creative. That's crazy. Gotta get this patent though, man. I see the money in it. I see the money in this product, yo. It's $1 million product. I just gotta get that shit to the market. I just gotta get it to the market. If I get that shit to the market, bruh, I'm retiring at 55. Fuck all the bullshit. I'm not trying to be working when I'm 60 years old. You know what I'm saying? By the time I'm 55, 60, I need 2 houses and a boat. I need a house up north a house down south, in a boat somewhere. You know what I'm saying? So when it's summertime, I'll come up to the city and chill in the summer when the weather's nice like this. Then when it gets wintertime up this bitch, I'm going down south. I'm going on my boat. Fuck that. There ain't a lot to ask for. And you know what? This little brush holder shit is gonna help me get it. Just gotta get that patent. I already reached out to some manufacturers. I got 3 different quotes, and one of them is pretty low. It wasn't what I was hoping for, but it's the closest thing to it. Look at you. Look at you. You took down that server yet? Man, I had that shit done before lunchtime. I'm working on the last one right now. I'm halfway through it. What the fuck were you doing? What about the one yesterday? I finished that one yesterday. I finished one before lunch. I'm working on the 3rd one. What don't you understand? What are you doing? Motherfucking Puff say, I'm feeling myself, nigga. Super hacker. I had the one dude come in the stream one time. You weren't in here though, Puff, but I told the motherfucker, I said, bruh, he was saying like the dumbest shit. I was like, nigga, don't make me call my homie and get you swatted real quick, boy. Stop fucking playing, boy. You don't know who I know. Saying some dumb shit, nigga. I have your real government name and address in 30 minutes. Don't play around. Fucking with you, nigga. I know people who know shit. Huh? You think you safe on the interweb? You're not. You're not safe on the interweb. I be on the net. No, I say I be on the web like tarantulas. Only thing is, tarantulas don't make webs. I hate when I'm not scientifically correct in my rhymes. I be trying so hard not to cough. Started another commission because your boy is popping right now. See how big that shit is, yo? Yo, this is how big this fucking canvas is. Yo, that shit crazy. That shit big as fuck, yo. April, what up, what up, what up? It has been. You don't even put me in the chat groups no more, play games with me or nothing no more, April. What's good, yo? Yeah, I swear you ain't been in my stream in years, girl. I actually seen you online the other day. You was in the chat room. I almost jumped in there just to speak to you, but I didn't think you would remember who the fuck I was. But working on another commission. Just got this one a couple of days ago. This is from a homie, a classmate of mine. Like from day one, we from the same little town. Went to the same middle school and high school and shit, yo. And goddamn, this is his third piece. Yo, my man is not fucking playing around. But the first piece he had me do was several years ago. I'm trying to think, yo. It's probably about 4 years ago, almost 5 years ago. He had me do a painting of his mom. Unfortunately, both of his parents have passed away. So he had me do a painting of his mom a few years back. He really liked it. I was happy that he was happy. He paid me what I wanted for it. And you know, it was a good piece. It was a good transaction. I think I finished the piece in a reasonable amount of time. Like I say, he paid what I want for it. He paid me on time, and it was a little smooth commission. A couple years later, which was last year, he had me do another piece. His father, like I said, his father passed away as well. So yeah, I should have, yo. Yo, what games you playing right now? These right here, bruh. Woo, nigga. But I'm about to tell the story now. So he got the first piece done. Last year, he came back. He wanted a piece of his father done. A way more complicated piece, too. I'm like, bruh. He's like, I want it the same size. I'm like, dude, for this picture on that size canvas, I gotta charge you this much. He's like, fine, I don't give a fuck. I want it done. I'm like, alright. So I did it. It turned out really good. He was really impressed. He really enjoyed the piece. It was another smooth commission. A nice transaction. Yeah. And so now he has two pieces. And he hit me up earlier this week. He was like, yo, I got another one for you. I'm like, for real, bro? He was like, I want this shit bigger, though. I'm like, my dude. And so he sent me the picture. I looked at it. I was like, honestly, bro, I gotta charge you so much for this size canvas. But since this is your third piece, now you're in that collector zone already. Like 3 pieces, you're a collector. You have 3 original pieces from me. Like that's a collection. And so now that you are a collector, what I would charge anyone else for this shit, I'll take a little bit off. And I'm gonna do it, you know. I don't feel like I'm losing out or cutting myself short or selling myself short or anything. For someone else, would I charge more? I would charge hella more than what I'm charging them. But what I'm charging them, it ain't cheap. I'll let you know now. For this size canvas, he's still coming out the pocket. He coming out the pocket for it. It ain't a cheap one. But it's cheaper for him. That Red Dead? Yeah. I said like not right now, but like when you do play, like what games? I think that's what I seen you guys on too, is on some GTA or something. But yeah, like what games are you currently playing? Like right now, what I'm playing is The Last of Us Part 2 and that Call of Duty, the new Call of Duty with the Warzone, the Battle Royale. But I got the whole game. I already beat the campaign one time, and I do play like I don't know. I guess the online. I don't know why they make it different like that. Because the Battle Royale version is free, but if you want to play like Team Deathmatch and uh, Capture the Flag and all the other game modes, like you gotta buy the whole game for that shit. But I'll play either one of them shits, yo. Oh yeah, yeah. And then at the same time, like I'm not gonna say empty space, but this the water is hella detailed. I think the water in him, uh, the small portrait of the person himself is gonna be the most time consuming. But honestly, just like the sky and this rock formation, I could probably just fly right through that shit. You know what I'm saying? That's why I say like let me see the picture first, and then I have to gauge on how much time I'm going to put into this thing before I give you a price. And looking at it, like I say, anybody else I would have charged like at least a third more or something like that. You know what I'm saying? But it's a large. He wants this. This is what he wants, and a large portion of it is sky. And the sky and the clouds to make it look nice and realistic. Yeah, it's going to be time consuming, but is painting a sky like painting a face? No. Is painting water like painting a face? It's not. So it's a very very large canvas, uh, but a large portion of it seems to me like it's going to be fairly easy to work through, which is that sky and that rock formation. Shouldn't take too long. And I'll just focus really as far as details on him and the water. And I think the price that I gave for him as a collector, as a lifelong friend for one, and as a collector who has purchased, this is his third piece and a very large piece. For that, I think I'm fair with what I'm giving him. And anything, if he ever acquires another painting after this, I'll still give him, you know, that select price range because he is literally collecting my art. And this is all I want. That's all I want is for somebody to want that shit as bad as I do. He got paintings of his parents done. He's never gonna let them shits go anywhere. He's gonna keep them shits forever. He's gonna take care of them and protect them and make sure they're okay, and he's gonna enjoy seeing them and enjoy being around them and enjoy having them in his home for the rest of his fucking life, yo. And I know that my art is being taken care of and appreciated by someone who loves and wants that shit as much as I do. That's all I want. You're gonna take care of my art. You're gonna collect my shit. Damn right. Let's get down on this shit, bro. You know what I'm saying? You're a collector now, dude. Motherfucker got 3 paintings. And then this shit is like I'm trying to fill a wall up. I'm like, damn, bro. You trying to fill a wall up? Whoa. You already know they're gonna do the remastered version of that shit for PS5. You already know. I got a digital copy, so I'm hoping that I'll get that free upgrade. You kept it? No. This dude. No. Say word, nigga. Say word. Nah. For real, Puff? This nigga. Wait. Oh my god, damn. Oh shit, nigga. Oh my god, bro. Oh damn. Oh. Answer your phone. Hey man. Hey, peace, bro. How that happen, man? Yeah. Did you? Oh my god, bro. It's all good. It's all. I see. I get nothing. Really, like really, Puff. That's how you gonna play it. I know it, cause hey, I try to tell everybody. I don't care how many pictures and how many videos you see of that shit, bro. It's different when you get it in your hands. You look at that shit, you like, oh shit. Oh yeah. Wow. Yeah, yeah. You're getting another one. Yeah, you're getting another one. You getting another one. They'll be alright. They'll be alright. Yeah, I gotta keep the first one. My bad, guys. I gotta keep the first one. I feel you. Yeah, I feel you. Yeah. All right, man. Let me get back in the stream, bro. And damn, yo, my man said, goddamn, couldn't let it go. He unboxed it. Man, Puff unboxed that shit. Looked at it, was like, ooh. I think I might have to keep it. What? I thought it was a gift for it. Nah. Now that I have it in my hands, I don't want to let it go. Man, said I can't give it up. Think I'm gonna have to keep this one. I'll get you guys another one done. I promise. I'll get another one painted. I promise. All right. That's good though. Yeah, that's what's up. I try to tell everybody that, yo. I don't care how much you see this shit behind the lens, yo. The camera is not as good as the human eye. That's all the camera tries to do. It emulates and imitates the eye. But our fucking cornea and retina, man, that's some of the most amazing shit nature ever fucking made, yo. You know what I'm saying? Your peripheral and your goddamn center sight, all that shit is fucking amazing how that shit works. And a camera can't really do that shit. I don't give a damn how good of a photographer you are. You know, that's why they keep trying to make 1080p, 4K, 8K, you know, trying to get it better and better so that it looks like real life. But that shit is hard to replicate. And like I say, it's the same thing with art, yo. If you see some shit in real life, it's like, that shit is like, wow. But that's what's up, though. I like that. That's how good the art is. The shit was meant for a gift. And once he got it, it's like, nah, hold up. I'll get you another one in a minute. Yeah. Now, I'm going to get you another one in a minute. I'm going to just keep this first one up. This shit means something to me. And that's what I say about my art. That's all I want, is for that shit to have a home where somebody's going to cherish that shit, yo. You know what I'm saying? Just cherish it. Take care of it. Keep that shit around for as long as we can. As long as we can, yo. I did that shit with my fucking hands and my fingers and shit. So when I'm dead, like, you still can hold that little bit of me. You know what I'm saying? Keep that shit around. I need this shit to be around 500 years from now. The eyes cannot perceive 4K, says Chaz the villain. Hey Siri, can the human eye perceive 4K?
Okay, I found this on the web for Can the Human Eye Perceive 4K? Check it out.
Can the human eye see the difference between 1080p and 4K? Better resolution has been the name of the game for television over the last decade. First it was color, then it was HD, then it was 720p, then it was 1080p, and now finally 4K. Is more always better? At what point does resolution stop mattering? After all, the human eye is only capable of seeing so much detail, right? Have we already hit the threshold? In short, it depends. The difference between 1080p and 4K is undeniably in that a 4K screen is capable of displaying 4 times the numbers of pixels as the 1080p screen. But the human eye is capable of seeing, but is the human eye capable of seeing that many pixels? It actually depends on the size of the screen and where you're sitting. From a distance, it is virtually impossible for someone to tell the difference in quality between 1080p and a 4K screen. However, if you have a big enough screen and a small enough room, the difference is immediately apparent. Even if you have a large room, if you sit close enough, if you sit close enough to the screen, you can see the difference. Yeah, and that's what they're saying about some of the graphics cards too. Like, somebody was like, "Oh, they could have pushed that shit to 14K or 8K or 14 or some shit," and it was like, yeah, but that would cause people to have to upgrade their television sets as well to even, you know, utilize the features of the gaming console. And like you're saying, most people are pretty happy with 1080p. You know, and I upgraded my television for the PS4 consoles, and honestly, I don't want to have to upgrade again, you know, just to utilize the full capabilities of the newer machine. And so, and then they're saying there's a chance that they won't make a mid-generation reboot like they did with the Pro series, which I do have. So who knows? And I think this is going to be like the real test phase for if we're going to continue to use discs or not, because most people don't use discs for anything anymore. Redbox is almost the last DVD outlet rental place that is holding on. I don't know where else you can go to rent a DVD. We are well into this digital age, and streaming services are more popular than physical hard copies of any kind of entertainment. Um, I can see the CD not going, extinct, but slowing down even more. Uh, the the DVD slowing down, even you know hard copy video game discs. And so this generation, they're saying off the bat, okay, we're gonna offer you a all digital version, and this is their test run to see how that shit sells, and maybe in another 7 or 10 years, with the next iteration of the gaming console, there may not be a disc version at all. Most laptops, most newer laptops don't come with a tray for a disk drive. I mean, that's just how shit is now. you know. So we're living at an amazing time right now. Like our technology is, you know, I'm not even 40. I'll be 40 next year, but in just the 4 decades of my life, like I've seen so much technology go out of date. I've seen technology come in and go out. You know what I'm saying? Like MP3. Nobody don't use that shit no more. You remember the iPods and all that shit? Like nobody really uses that shit no more. We have these new smart devices because they're way more than a phone, and so your smart device and can hold all of your shit now. You know. I'm missing so many comments running my fucking mouth. A bubble memory. Oh yeah, sure. Wow, Chaz at 63. Yeah, I can imagine like what you've seen in your like. You're 63, bro. Imagine just when Star Trek. You know what I'm saying? With Captain Kirk and them, and they pull out their little communicators and flip it open, and like, hey, and now we're doing that shit for real, bro. Like talking to the computers and shit. Hey Siri, that shit is fucking crazy. I didn't mean to tell you to say that, but you know what I'm saying, like. Chaz, when you were a kid, did you think in your lifetime you would be able to talk to a computer and have it respond to just a voice command? Did you think that was going to be possible in your lifetime? Like, really, for me, like the Dick Tracy watches, I used to like watching the Dick Tracy movies and all that shit. You saw this shit coming? And that's the thing, like, I always felt like I'm gonna miss it, because I always loved science fiction. I love fucking, like, Dean Koontz stuff, Michael Crichton is famous for Jurassic Park, the Lost World. I read Jurassic Park, The Lost World. He had this other one called the Andromeda Strand. Um, he also wrote, this shit called Swarm. Yo, Orson Scott Cards, the Ender Game series, the Dune series. You know what I'm saying? Always just like Tron, all that shit. But I felt like I'll never live to see this shit. You know what I'm saying? Back to the Future and all that shit, man. I was like, man, that shit had never fucking happened. Now that shit is like, everything is really fucking happening. You know what I'm saying? Like Dick Tracy used to talk to his fucking watch. Like, yeah, because we're out here on the coop. And now you can talk to your fucking watch. See people on your watch and shit. Talk to your computers. Like the motherfucking Jetsons and all kind of shit. You know what I'm saying? Shit is crazy, bro. Damn. This motherfucker been grown since you were 14 years old. When I was 14, I was in ninth grade still. Oh yeah, so we didn't get that signal until what, 1996. You know what I'm saying? When they put the fucking internet online. What, it was 95 or 96? And that's what I say, like all our technology is military based anyway. The military use that shit till its fullest capabilities and make sure they understand every aspect of it and are able to manipulate every aspect of it, and then they'll give it to the corporations to make a commodity out of it for the general public. But everything come from damn military, yo. You did all that with one computer. Oh, without a computer. That's what I'm saying. That's the thing, like, computers for me wasn't really popular until like I was in high school, basically. Like our middle school had some computers, but like I saw the rise of the digital age, yo. That shit is weird. Like I only have like at 63, you got like several like world changing events under your belt. You know what I'm saying? Goddamn. That's like civil rights era, all that shit, yo. You lived through all that shit. Desegregation, motherfucking, goddamn Nixon with all that bullshit. Reagan got shot. Berlin Wall. This nigga. 3D holographic communications. I can't imagine writing out some physics calculations long hand. Ain't that shit in A Beautiful Mind? Some shit they be writing about, that shit on the chalkboard. Centrino Wi-Fi cards. Yo, there's so many comments on this post. Uh-oh. About to start some controversy online. What? I don't get it. Alright. Some talk and some live. Nope. I'm gonna get started on this one, and because the other one has mostly underpainting done. So I just had to change up the background some. So this is at a pretty decent point. So I'm gonna put a layer of paint on this one, and then I'm gonna finish this one, then I'm gonna finish this one. And then that shit is like almost 7 of these canvases. I don't know when I'll get back to doing my own stuff. I've been doing all these commissions lately, but I love it. This is like instant money. Been doing commissions non-stop for like, yeah. So that one is far enough along. I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna pull some paint on this shit. Keep bouncing around. Bronze. Yeah, this is gonna be hot, son. Gotta paint some shit like this of myself. I need to go to the beach, just wade out in the water, and take me some sexy pics. You know what I'm saying? Oh yeah. Motherfucker think he a model. It's all good. Let me get my abs right. I gotta get off that. I gotta get off them little Debbies and them Sara Lees. You know what I'm saying? All that Schweppes ginger ale and shit. I know that's all it is, yo. If I could just cut my sugar intake a little bit more and do my core, yo, my abs would be like pow 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 pow. Then I go on some modeling shit for real. Alright, we gotta get some paint done. We've been here 45 minutes. 45 minutes. What's up? What's up? It's Friday. Everybody shut the fuck up, sit down, forget the morning program with your bitch ass. So what's the conversation? While we paint, we need something good to talk about. We're gonna talk about COVID-19 or Black Lives Matter. I mean, y'all can throw some other options in there. We're gonna talk about Nick Cannon getting canceled because he said something about Jewish people, or he said something about white people savages. Yeah, what y'all want to talk about? I'll let y'all pick the program for the afternoon or the evening rather, so we can get a little bit of education. Cause whatever we talk about, I'm gonna give my opinion on that shit. My honestly semi-informed. Steroids will get it done faster. I'm just saying. You know, one little injection in the butt. You won't have to take them protein shakes no more. You know what, bruh? I'd rather just eat my protein shakes and try to cut out on my sugar intake. I don't want no roids. Don't want no roids. I know somebody was on roids, yo, and then everybody said he was on roids, and then after a while, start calling this motherfucker Incredible Hulk, but in reverse. Can you tell when he stopped taking them shits? Yeah, that motherfucker just started deflating, yo, turning back into David Banner. Like that nigga, when I first met you, boy, you was swole as shit. Motherfucker wasn't much bigger than me. After that, I was like, damn, this nigga just steroids, man. I ain't trying, man. I'm trying to get natural gains. All this shit is real meat. That's real meat. You know what I'm saying? I don't need the artificial gains. That shit gonna fuck you up. And what's that other shit? The motherfuckers be injecting themselves. Yo, you seen that shit? Yo, swell they damn self. But then motherfuckers be big as shit, but then be curling a 20-pound dumbbell like nigga. What the fuck is that? Just water weight? And you just swell up like that for you? That shit don't make you stronger, nigga. Motherfucking shoulders big as shit. He benching 135. I said, what the hell? You just look strong. Now I'm gonna knock you the fuck out, bro. I'm gonna knock you the fuck out, dude. That shit be crazy, bro. I don't know, man. I got a slim, wiry frame. I've been like this my whole life. I don't need no extra gains. If my body can't do that shit naturally, I do drink a protein shake and get 60 grams of protein in one shake, yo. But other than that, I don't take no extra shit, bro. I can't get that shit natural. I don't need it. My body says it doesn't need it. I can't get that shit through food. Just eating a lot, I'm good. Wow. Well, they said it's supposed to enhance your focus. I can't do all of that, man. Screw that. That's it. Can't get natural gains. You ain't gonna get but your body ain't gonna do but what it can do, man. That's why Floyd Mayweather, one of the motherfucking champs of all champs, and that nigga smaller than me. You know what I'm saying? Floyd like 145 pounds, 150 pounds. But that's how his body is, you know what I'm saying? And he beat all them niggas. There's no way you stay in your lane. Alright, what we got to listen to over here? Anybody want to pick a subject, a topic, any current events? PS5, 10 million consoles. PS5 production doubled for launch supplies. PS5 Amazon. This was 10 hours ago. Since y'all ain't want to fucking say what we listening to, I'm going to pick this. See what they're talking about, because I'm ready to pre-order my PS5 whenever they get an announcement. We taking pre-orders? Word?
Hello everyone, starting off as always with our PlayStation Plus reminder, the July games that are currently available, that's Erica, NBA 2K20, and Rise of the Tomb Raider. You have plenty of time to download these games or add them to your library. Happy Ghost of Tsushima Day, everybody. The game is finally out, Sony's last major PS4 exclusive.
Who has that? Ghost of Tsushima? Ghost of Tsushima? Somebody's like, oh, you getting that? I'm like, nah, the next game, well, I just finished The Last of Us, like, literally last night. But it lets you start it over and you keep all your upgrades and stuff the second playthrough, so I might play through it a second time. I missed the question. What happened? Just hang out with skinny people so you look bigger. I found out a little trick. To make yourself look bigger, you wear really small shirts. That's it, man. Really small shirt, you just look big as shit in that shit. Like, yeah, that nigga look buff. But it's not, I'm not really buff. I got a small ass shirt on. It's an optical illusion. You know what I'm saying? The natural way, exactly. Yeah, it works, bro. It works. All my shirts, small. I hate wearing them medium. I ain't gonna lie. I went up with small shirts, everything small. Shit made me look diesel, son. Ghost of Tsushima. I don't even really know what this game about. But now, I might have to watch some gameplay. But then, I don't know if I really want to buy another game. Really? When does what's the release date for Cyberpunk, yo? I'm really just trying to wait for Cyberpunk to come out. Like I said, those were my main two games for this entire year. The Last of Us Part 2, got that, completed that already. I actually bought the entire Call of Duty game just to tie me over because I was still playing Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Breakpoint and Rockstar's Red Dead Redemption 2. And so then I got the Call of Duty, played that for a month or so until The Last of Us came out, and I just ran right through that shit. And now I was just waiting for Cyberpunk. Who's doing Cyberpunk? That's Project CD Red? No? Yeah? Yeah. So I'm waiting for that Cyberpunk 2077. But Ghost of Tsushima, I only saw like one preview ever of that shit, and then they didn't even really like delve into like the story or what's that shit about or anything like that. And it's out today, like now, and people are playing it. Man, I might have to watch some gameplay. Wow.
But thankfully, it's reviewed quite well. My gut reaction for a while was maybe this would be another Days Gone where it reviews, well, but also some mixed reviews, which I think that gets anywhere to 70 sometimes Metacritic. But this game holds 83, so very well received.
83?
From Sucker Punch. And more importantly, though, Japanese audiences also are really.
What does Game Informer say?
I think there was a big concern going into this where this game was a Western developed game, of course, it's focusing on time period. And Japanese customs. I think there was a lot of pressure that Sucker Punch get this part of the game right. And so from what we're hearing from Japanese critics, the game isn't uncomfortable in any way. It's not out of the ordinary in terms of how they focus on Japanese customs. And so that's really great to hear. In fact, this is the third Western game to ever receive a perfect score from Famitsu. The other two games being The Elder Scrolls Skyrim and Grand Theft Auto 5. Ironically, I know that's one that actually did also pull off a perfect score. But hopefully, if you are playing today, I hope you have a great time with the game. I will also be playing it for probably most of the day myself. Now, here's a news story I never thought we'd actually have the pleasure of going over. And technically, we won't be able to go over it the way we wanted it to, because earlier in the week, we saw Tom Holland post on his Instagram account, Uncharted Day 1, hashtag Uncharted Day 1, posted a picture of his chair. It says Nate on it. We know that he's playing a young Nathan Drake, and then there's also a young Sully. It's kind of an origin Nathan Drake story. That's the synopsis of this film. So we all thought, yes, this movie's actually starting principal photography. No way. And then Sony Pictures stepped in and said, no, it hasn't started filming, but the film crews are prepping the set more or less, and that they're hoping to start filming very soon. So either way, though, I think it's close enough to where we can confidently say that the movie is starting. until something gets in the way again. But for now, at least, it appears that the ball is really rolling on this film, and we might actually be able to see this movie.
Who's gonna play
and
Nathan
I think
Drake?
the new date was October 2021 for the release of this, so that'll be exciting. Moving on, if you remember last week, we were going over a leaked DualSense photo, and now we have a new one. So many people discussing: is it real? Is it fake? Well, who cares? Because a few hours from now, from the upload time of this video, Jeff Keighley will be hosting a live stream for his Summer Game Fest event that will showcase the DualSense controller hands-on. So it looks like he'll probably be playing Astrobot's Playroom. We don't know what the live stream looks like, but 9 a.m. PT, 12 p.m. ET. So a few hours from now, I upload this usually around 8 to 9 a.m. Eastern Standard. So we won't be able to cover what is shown off in that live stream when I'm uploading this video. But it's great to see a real teaser footage of the controller in the flesh, right? That's what we've been saying, is that with these pictures, whether they're real or fake, it's nice to see the controller in a real-life environment. And so we've got some short teasers where he picks up the controller and just says, you know, I have actually got the DualSense. Looks cool, right? So not much I can really add from this point in Let's Talk PlayStation, but I'm going to leave a link to the live stream down below so you don't miss it if you want to catch it when it does go live. Astrobot's Playroom is like that one game where it's preloaded on every single PS5. It's kind of a showcase of the DualSense features, which is hard to articulate, of course, because it's all about sensing and holding the thing. So I'm not sure how much coverage they can reasonably provide, but I'd imagine it's just that. No UI, no new game announcements, just a showcase of software that makes sense for the DualSense, like Astrobot's Playroom or Godfall. They're also using the features in a lot of creative ways, so that could potentially be there. But depending on what is shown, I highly doubt we'll need to do an additional update video for today on top of Let's Talk PlayStation. It is Jeff Keighley's hands-on after all, so he's just going to be describing what he's feeling with the controller. I don't think there's really going to be anything too revealing other than just having some nice footage of the controller in the
3, 2,
So they're doing that
1,
today?
1, 2.
flush. Now, also from last week, we were discussing next-gen upgrades, and for the Xbox Smart Delivery list, there's still a few third-party games on there where we're waiting for the confirmation on the PlayStation side of things. Well, for the Ubisoft Way Forward event that was this past week, Ubisoft did confirm for a few of their games. Previously, we already knew about Watch Dogs Legion, but now we have confirmation for Assassin's Creed
that shit. I got both of the Watch Dogs games.
Far Cry
Those
6,
shits are
which
hard,
was previously leaked from the Hong Kong PlayStation Store, but that had its formal reveal during the Ubisoft Way Forward event. And all three of these games will be a free upgrade from PS4 to PS5. And actually, we also got a thorough explanation from Ubisoft's website about how this upgrade will look depending on what version of the game you buy. So I'll read that for you here. It says, for digital copies purchased on the Microsoft Store or PlayStation Store, you'll be able to download the upgraded version when it becomes available. For physical copies, you'll be able to download the upgraded version when it becomes available. The disc must be inserted to launch both the current gen and next gen versions of the game. Next gen upgrades are not available for physical versions of the game if you've upgraded to a discless console. It is also not possible to upgrade from a digital current gen edition to a physical next gen edition. Once you complete the upgrade, you will still be able to play your game on your PlayStation 4 or Xbox One. Pretty simple. Hopefully that clears things up for some people, but still nice to see. One thing I actually haven't mentioned about this whole upgrading fiasco is that, you know, at the very minimum, this won't be much of an issue 2 years into PS5 and Series X and Series S, where most third parties will finally abandon the current generation machines. So I know it's very important right now to talk about next gen upgrades, which a lot of them are turning out to be free, but even in the worst case scenario, you know, at a certain point, the games are always backwards compatible, but, you know, there just won't be any more PS4 and X1 games to worry about getting upgraded, right? So just something to consider. Next up, this isn't really major news, but on the official PlayStation website, the PS5 product page has officially updated, and now if you use the drop-down menu, you can actually see a silhouette of the PS5 console alongside the row of icons for PS4, PSVR, PS Plus, the PlayStation Store, things like that. If you remember a while ago, a few months back, we had some fake leaks that showcased a PS5 design up on that list of icons, and so a lot of people thought that maybe the design of PS5 leaked by that way, which was pretty ridiculous at the time. But no, this is actually what the silhouette looks like on the main website, which it appears as though they're using the digital edition console, so that's pretty interesting. Other aspects of the site updated as well, so showcasing some games, you know, more marketing spiel about all the features of PlayStation 5. But I will say, when it comes to that icon, this is what I've said for a while about the PS5 hardware design before it was revealed. Sony likes to make very stylized hardware. They very much go for something that's iconic and different alongside everything else, right? They want this thing to have a profile, something that stands out from other PlayStation hardware, but is still very iconic, and that silhouette just very much so, it sticks with you, it really does. For our next news story, we have a bunch of official PS5 product listings that have finally shot up on Amazon.com for specific territories. So Australia had a bunch of listings go up for not just PS5, but a bunch of accessories. That was relatively new. But also the US site, I believe the promotional page got updated, so it's actually been up for a little bit now. It's not separate product listings. A lot of people are getting this really confused because, of course, what transpired on Monday is a lot of people hoping that the PS5 price and release date rumor was going to be true, that Sony would reveal the price and release date on the PlayStation blog or something to that effect around 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So everybody was banking on that. A few product listings went up in Australia and a few other places, but some have been up for a while, and so everyone's been getting this confused and mixed up. I'm not even really sure which ones have been up and which ones haven't, but that's the problem, is that depending on the territory and depending on how long these pages have been live, you know, there was the expectation that the Monday rumor was going to be true, which, if you remember last week, we did cover this rumor, and I said don't put too much stock into it. It was coming from one source. Now, granted, the Robert Serrano Twitter account got the PS5 reveal dates correct. It's just something where it's one source, nobody else is talking about it, nobody else is bringing it up, there's no other articles discussing it. A lot of major sites started to really pick up that story, but beyond that, there was nothing tangible saying that Sony was going to do it on Monday. So as of right...
Think you know FanDuel? Well, what if we told you that we've got an ace up our sleeve? Introducing
Right now, all we have is product listings, and that's it. I mean, if you remember last week, we were talking about E3. That's, you know, where we normally get price announcements for brand new hardware. But we're well beyond that point, right? We're in mid-July, it's uncharted waters, so who knows how this will play out. But realistically, what we're looking at here is Microsoft's rumored Lockhart event in August. You got to showcase that Series S box before you put a price on Series X. I think that makes a lot of sense, of course. So show the price lineup for both those consoles. With Sony, we saw the DualSense drop on the PS blog. We saw the very existence of PS5 drop on Wired.com. So it's not outside the realms of impossibility that we'll get price and release date on the PlayStation blog, for example. But we do have a rumored August state of play. There's still a lot that we don't know about PS5, so that makes sense to put that in the August event. I know a lot of people still like to play into this whole price standoff thing between Sony and Microsoft, but it really doesn't work like that. I mean, yes, price is like the one area where there's a little bit of last-minute steer. But even then, there's a major implication on dropping the price even by $50 last minute. That's billions of dollars we're talking about. So both Sony and Microsoft have a general idea of the price target that they want to get to. And at this point, there's just not much they can reasonably do. So we'll just have to wait and see. Now, if we actually dial back for a second and go to the product listings, I believe the only one is Amazon Germany that actually puts a weight on PlayStation 5, which is 4.78 kilograms, or about 10.5 pounds. I know many people are thinking that that's probably the box, so everything that comes with PlayStation 5 shipped to you. But that very likely is the actual console, considering that we know it's a very large machine already. And PlayStation 3, the original fat PlayStation 3, is still the champion in this regard if PS5 is 10.5 pounds, because the original launch PS3 was an 11-pound monster. So either way, these are both very large, heavy platforms. And,
I don't remember the PlayStation feeling like it was 11 pounds.
For our next news story, we've got a new report on Bloomberg, and this one's stating that Sony is looking to up PS5 manufacturing from about 5 million consoles to 10 million, mostly to meet the demand this holiday season, but also going into the first quarter of 2021. About 5 million consoles will be finished by September, and then an additional 5 million will be done between anywhere from October to December, and that allocation might be more so for that first quarter of 2021. Also carrying DualSense production up as well, not just for controllers packed into the box, but also additional ones that will be sold separately. The cited reason is that because people are indoors, people are more inclined to buy video games, and that is what we're seeing right now. Revenue across the board for the games industry is up, so despite people falling on hard times, more people are buying video games, and that's with us being in the late life cycle of PS4, Xbox One, and even Switch, where Switch is about halfway into its life cycle. So, very encouraging, considering that about
video games,
there was another Bloomberg report that actually stated that Sony was looking to manufacture about 5 to 6 million PlayStation 5.
Oh, you can't go anywhere. You know what? We should get an Xbox.
PS4.
Like,
Sony
really?
sold about 4.2 million PS4s by the end of 2013, so from launch to the end of the year.
Let's get a PlayStation.
And then they sold worldwide total 7 million consoles by that first quarter. Now that's shipped and sold to consumers, so they obviously managed to a little bit more than 7 million. So with what we heard in April, it actually sounded as though there would be less PS5 availability from what we had with PlayStation 4. So not alarming, it's not a huge reduction, but certainly one that you might actually feel if you were worried about not getting a console on day one. Now from 5 to 10 is very aggressive. Even when you consider that half of that is more for next year, 5 million ready by day one is a lot, or at least for that month and a half that it's available for the rest of 2020, whereas PS4, again, 4.2 million consoles from November 15th to the end of 2013. So if you really line it up perfectly, we're looking at about 800,000 more PS5s available versus PlayStation 4, which is more, although it might not be something that you'll really feel or notice considering that it's a new hardware launch. So whether PS5 was super expensive or cheap, or whether it sucks or it's great, same with Series X and Series S, all these consoles are going to fly off the shelves. It's a brand new hardware launch. It's exciting. So you're still going to want to be there day.
We hear a lot about cursed films.
I mean, trying to be there day one for the launch.
Crazy things that happen on set.
One.
I'm trying to, like I said, I had the Xbox One on day one, and I had the PS4 on day one. Had a PS3 on day one. I'm really a PlayStation guy. I had every PlayStation. I didn't have the original Xbox ever. Never owned that shit. Never went back and grabbed it afterwards or anything. Just, I don't know. Never really played the first Xbox. I guess that's why I'm not a Halo fan. And once I did start playing Xboxes, like, screw this shit. But I love some goddamn PlayStation, you know. Definitely can't wait for the new one to come out, you know. I still feel like this is still a strong ass machine though, like playing the Last of Us all the way through on here. It's like shit, this shit is badass. Y'all need a new one already? It's been how long? 6 years. Stop fucking playing. For real, 6 years? Come on. I feel like I just got the PS4 Pro. It ain't been six years already. I've been playing PS4 for how long? Jesus. Y'all ready for a new one already? Damn. I say, man, the older you get, time motherfucking flies. So I'll be like 47. I'll be 47 when goddamn PS6 come out. Hopefully I'll still be playing games then. Damn, that's crazy. I ain't gonna live long enough to see the PS10? Shit.
Order one to make sure that you don't miss out, or the next day for any local retailers that you want to go visit to place a pre-order. That's still very crucial, and you'll definitely want to do that. But from what it sounds like, the availability might be more favorable this time around, which is good, although concerning in the sense that from 5 to 10 in such a short amount of time, I would be worried about QA, the quality assurance. I would want to make sure that all those consoles are properly inspected.
That's what I'm thinking. Like, how many testers y'all got on the line testing every box coming up?
There's also the case to be made that when you have higher volume orders, right, you're lowering the cost of manufacturing. So, of course, a lot of people are also discussing the price of the platform again. Now, PS5 and Series X, they're still going to be very expensive to make, so I don't think this would help Sony all that much, although they might feel more confident going into releasing it at whatever price point they've already set. Time is going to bring costs down more than anything when it comes to Sony, and you know it's something where whatever they set day one is a really big deal, because if they set it too low on day one, then they have to eat so much more money up until they reach a break even, whereas if they priced it at something that was more comfortable for them, for a loss that they were willing to take, then they can more quickly get to that profitability over time when the price of manufacture the machine comes down. Of course, you'll still see revisions and things like that for what makes it more favorable, not only on Sony's end, but also your end in terms of power consumption or slight internal changes. But either way, what we're looking at is a slight increase in availability for launch compared to PS4, and then going into that first quarter, actually much more availability, because 7 million PS4s by the end of March 2014, whereas this could potentially look like 10 million in terms of consoles actually being ready to go, right? The real problem here is shipping all the consoles overseas. That's why that second 5 million would probably in all likelihood not be ready for day one. Anyway, moving on to our next news story, we've got some new comments from Xbox head Phil Spencer, where he's once again defending the company's decision to keep supporting Xbox One for about 2 years, right, in the life cycle of Series X. They've been pretty forward about this. Their first-party games will be on Xbox One and Series X. They're highly encouraging that. Even their box art is just going to this somewhat place of ambiguity where it's just Xbox as a platform, and there's separate labels for what consoles that game is natively supported on. And so you'll get Xbox One, Xbox Series X. There's room in there for the Series S label, optimized for Xbox One X. It's a busy piece of box art, but it thoroughly explains what's available. And so Microsoft's been defending these decisions, and Phil had a few things to say to GameIndustry.biz and even commenting on Xbox Newswire. So some interesting quotes here where he says, "We should applaud load times and fidelity of scenes and frame rate and input latency and all these things that we focused on with the next generation, but that should not exclude people from being able to play. That's our point. How do we create an ecosystem where if you want to play an Xbox game, we're going to give you a way to play it?" Sorry, I am a bit soapboxy with this one. Gaming is about entertainment and community and diversion and learning new stories and new perspectives, and I find it completely counter to what gaming is about to say that part of that is going to lock people away from being able to experience those games, or to force someone to buy my specific device on the day I want them to go buy it in order to partake in what gaming is about. Now, I've said this for a while, but I love Phil Spencer. I mean, he's done some amazing things with Xbox. I love how candid and how open he is in his conversations. He says things that you'd never hear somebody from Sony say, and that's great, but this is a pretty bad take in that he's just leaving himself open for so much backlash and irony, because that's exactly what a lot of these comments are, is just complete irony in terms of what the console model typically is, what is expected, what consumers are totally fine with. In fact, what consumers often want from next-gen hardware is all these brand new games that, in theory, from a marketing standpoint, hey, these games can only work on this new hardware, and here's all these pretty graphics for you. I mean, that's something consumers are used to and something that they actually want. And granted, he wasn't really part of these decisions back in the day with Xbox's history, but Xbox has certainly partaked in this business model, not just in terms of hardware leaps, but timed exclusivity, timed exclusive content. It's part of the business, and so to try and make some of these statements, I think, is just a bad look, because you're very easily painting yourself. You're painting a pretty big target on your head, and that's exactly what's happening as these comments are coming out. So it's not like what he's saying here is wrong or counteractive to what Microsoft's trying to do. I mean, it's all accurate. It's just a bad take, or a bad way to present it, rather. Instead of calling out competition or calling out all these practices that you've very much been a part of, it probably would have been better to just say, here's all these great things that we're now changing about our model, and here's why it's so much better. Like, that to me probably would have played out in a much more favorable position than what is currently happening right now. So, with all that out of the way, it's time to get to Let's Talk Plus, the weekly Let's Talk PlayStation giveaway, where one of you can win a $10 PSN code. I'd like to congratulate this viewer right here. I'll be contacting you very soon via email or Twitter. If you would like to win a $10 PSN code, very easy. Follow the link down below. Supporting this channel in a number of ways can gain you an entry, and I'll announce the winner next week, because I'm trying to pay for your games. Those are all the news stories that I want to talk about with you all. Our Tuesday topic was PlayStation 5 Pro. Will we actually get mid-cycle updates? Some recent comments from Albert Pinillo, formerly of Xbox, EA, Sega, made some good points as to why we might not actually see mid-cycle consoles. So check out that conversation. And as always, we'll have another Tuesday video ready for you that may be some random topic. You never really know what you're going to get. That's it, though. That concludes this week's episode of Let's Talk PlayStation. I'm Ryan Benecki. Thank you all so much for talking with me, and I will see you all next Friday.
So PlayStation is going to have a controller reveal tonight?
Joe Rogan experience?
You should tell Joe about how the government program OSAP was created directly because George wrote this book about a little place called Skinwalker Ranch where the government was studying this property. That happened because of his book. Some DIA guys, well, you should tell the story.
I visited that place.
Yeah, but right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you got a. I think you got a little misled on it.
Tell him how the governments that he started, from your work. It's fascinating.
So some of it stems back to Lazar. So we did that story in the series in '89. One of the first people to call me after that was a guy I'd never heard of before named Robert Bigelow, a billionaire. He calls me up and says, I was really interested in that. I've been interested in UFOs for a long time. Can I help you? Meaning, can he help fund me? I said, I work for a TV station. I don't need any help. But he was not to be deterred. He then reached out to Lazar. They had he started meeting with him and pumping him for information. And that really amplified Bigelow's lifelong interest in it. He created something called NIDS, the National Institute for Discovery Science, which he made a science advisory board of the best and the brightest in both the UFO field and the field of consciousness. So they're looking at two questions. Is there life elsewhere in the universe? Is it here? And do humans survive after death? And he assembled this board, former CIA guys, 2 former astronauts, men who had walked on the moon, Dr. Edgar Mitchell, Dr. Hal Puthoff, physicists, psychologists, a brilliant little think tank to take on these 2 topics. I was allowed to be a fly on the wall for some of it, not all of it, but some. And I told Harry Reid about it in 1996, and he said, can I go? And so he showed up and sat in on the meetings, and he was kind of hooked. Harry Reid was the first person I told about Bob Lazar outside of our newsroom. Before we aired the stories, I'd known him since he first ran for Congress in 1982. Then he becomes Senate Majority Leader. So he'd always had an interest in it, but he didn't want it to be known publicly. That does not help your re-election chances. So in 2005, we write the book about Skinwalker Ranch. NIDS, that team, bought the ranch. They were on the property for 7 or 8 years at that point and had hundreds of different incidents that they investigated. They approached it like scientists would. They looked for prosaic explanations. They looked for gravity anomalies. They looked for psychoactive plants. Could there be hallucinations caused by magic mushrooms or something? Are the witnesses lying? They investigated the background of the family that had lived there. And they found out that it could not be explained, all the range of activity there. So it was not only what kind of activity we're talking about? Well, it starts with UFOs because that's what got their attention. The Uinta Basin in northeastern Utah has always been a UFO hotspot. Everybody who lives there basically has seen them. Balls of light, orbs, structured craft, daylight, nighttime. In 1976, a guy named Dr. Frank Salisbury wrote a book about it, the Utah UFO Display, and he took hundreds of these cases that have been collected by the locals. There was a local science teacher named Junior Hicks who, because he had taught generations of kids science in that area, when people would see UFOs, they'd call up Junior Hicks, and he went and go and investigate them, and he had hundreds and hundreds of files. He gave them over to this guy Salisbury, who wrote a book about it, and he said, these are real, they're going on. But Junior Hicks would disregard any high strangeness cases that came along with the UFOs. Anything weird, Bigfoot, ghosts, anything like that, he thought it was too incredible, and he discarded that. Bigelow buys the ranch. He hears about these stories going on this one property, flies in, meets with a rancher, and by this time that rancher and his family had lived on the ranch for 20 months. And they were so scared that he, his wife, and his 2 kids were all sleeping at night on the floor in the same room because it had messed with them so badly. Their property had ghost-type activity, poltergeist kind of things, trickster activity. For example, the wife goes shopping to the grocery store. She buys all this food, comes back, puts it on the table, takes it out, puts it in the shelves, leaves the room, comes back in, all the food's back in the bag. She would take a shower in the morning, locks the door, puts a towel and a hairbrush on the cabinet, gets out of the shower, door's still locked, hairbrush and towel are gone. Dad's out in the field. He is digging a post hole, using a post hole digger, heavy piece of equipment. He stops for a second, wipes his brow, looks back, and it's gone. And they find it 2 weeks later up in a tree. They start hearing voices at night in the air, speaking a strange language. They start seeing shapes outside the window at night, big, lurking humanoid shapes. hearing heavy footsteps outside, then hearing heavy footsteps inside. Then their animals started being mutilated. Cows, the tracks would lead out into the snow and then just be gone. Calves mutilated, cut up with surgical precision. Cats wiped out, cut up, carved up. Dogs that were vaporized. Hundreds of these incidents. They would see holes in the sky, like a great big hole in the sky, and things flying in and out of it. Now this rancher, college-educated guy, grounded, strict religious guy, thinks the government is trying to run him off his property. So he's out there at night lurking with a gun trying to catch whatever government agents are doing this stuff. And it's not government agents, it was something else. They start seeing UFOs of all shapes and sizes. The first one they saw was they thought it was a Winnebago. This ranch is a beautiful place, and it only has one way in and one way out. They see these two lights that look like headlights down in the third homestead. How did this guy get past the house here and get down there? He must be stuck. Let's go down and help him out. The lights start coming toward he and his son. Then they go up into the sky, up over the trees, and then poof, gone. These different kinds of orbs, the white ones that were intelligently controlled, not fireflies, not bugs, blue ones that would go, they seem to touch the fear center in your brain. They get near them, they look like a little bigger than a softball, made out of glass with a swirling blue liquid, scared the hell out of the animals, and then it scared the hell out of the people too. This literally drove them to their knees with fear. These red orbs that would stampede the cattle. They lost so many cattle that they began to think that they were going to go under. They had these 4 prized bulls. I know I'm jumping around, but there's a lot of stories. They had these 4 prized bulls, 2,000 pounds each, behemoths, very expensive animals because they were raising Simmental cattle. Had them in the corral, and the husband and wife, they always felt like they're being watched. He says to the wife as they're driving to town, "Man, if something happens to one of those bulls, we'll go under. We'll be done." They come back a half an hour later. All 4 of the bulls are gone. They jump out. They're freaking out. Where did they go? Did somebody steal them? Are they rustlers? Looking around all over the place. In this corral is a metal trailer where they used to store tools. And there's only one door into it, and it's locked with this heavy piece of wire. The door's still locked. The wire is still on there. The guy, just as a last resort, he looks into the grating on top of this trailer, and there's the 4 bulls inside. Door's still locked. They're all crammed in there. Now, you could take a forklift. You could have a team of 50 people, and they couldn't get those bulls in that trailer, but there they were. He yells to his wife, "Hey, honey, they're in here." And when he says that, the bulls wake up as if out of a trance, kick the door down, and all got out. The NIDS team, which had been on the property for a couple of years at that point, fly in. They'd been in Las Vegas. They fly back in. They look around. They check out the animals. The whole corral, which is made out of metal, had been magnetized. So whatever technology was used to get those bulls from the corral into that trailer left a magnetic signature. They were there on the property, the NIDS guys, for several years. Bigelow owned it for 20 years. But eventually they gave up. Whatever this thing was, this intelligence, it did not like being stalked, and it played tricks on them. And they never made the stuff public because what are you going to do? Write a paper about this? Who's going to print it? You can't make a documentary about it because they weren't there with cameras.
Is there any evidence? So, well, all this we're saying, the cattle mutilations, I guess that's some evidence, but that's the only evidence of cows, and we can mutilate cows. What about all this other stuff?
Like for the first 20 months when the rancher is there, they don't have any evidence because he's not a paranormal investigator. They're not taking photos or something. They want it to go away. So they don't have any evidence of that except for what the rancher told them. But then they talk to the larger community, and the same thing has been happening to all the neighbors. The guy who lives next door had lost all these cattle as well, sees the craft. Sometimes these craft would float around. They looked like stealth fighters with Christmas lights around them, floating around silently.
Again, is there any evidence?
No, not really. I mean, so Bigelow puts up cameras all over the property, and you have them focused here where some activity had happened before. The thing moves over here. You move the cameras and focus there, it goes away. Toward the end of the study, whatever it was that was there, one of these cameras would rip to shreds. They're up on top of a telephone pole, 30, 40 feet in the air. And there's wires that are secured all the way down the telephone pole. And they noticed that one of their cameras goes out. They figure, well, there's another camera on another pole that should have a view of whatever it was that tore this up, some kind of animal or whatever. Well, whatever it was invisible. And I know it's very frustrating. It certainly was for them and for me to try to write about it, in that this thing didn't want to be caught. It wanted to demonstrate it that it was there, but it didn't want to have evidence. The calf that was mutilated was in, I know it's a lot to handle.
Yeah.
The calf that was mutilated, it was a Sunday morning. It's 10 o'clock on a quiet morning. It's daylight. The rancher and his wife are there by themselves. They're tagging newborn calves, tag their ears. And they tag this one right by the ranch house, 50 yards from their home, and they go off across the property. It's a clear day. It's unobstructed. Their dog is with them and makes a noise that points them back toward that first calf that they had tagged. And the dog indicates that something's wrong. And they see the mom cow is dragging its leg and going around in a semicircle. It's in distress. They go running back over there, and this calf had been completely stripped of flesh. Nothing left but a hide and bone, and one of the femur bones had been ripped out and thrown on the side. Well, they call in the NIDS guys. They bring in trackers. There are no tracks. There's no human tracks, no vehicle tracks, no animal tracks. The thing had been completely stripped of blood. There's not a drop of blood on the ground. It's gone. 75 pounds of meat, gone. Again.
Over a time period of
30 minutes. Is there a team of commandos that comes in and does that?
Where's the blood go?
Yeah.
And there's evidence of this?
Yeah.
Photographs?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can we see that?
Yeah.
Where is it?
I made a movie called Hunt for the Skinwalker. It's in there, right? Is that the only place?
Yeah, it's probably some other places. There's photos and video.
I mean, so I'm with you now.
What's the speculation about? Like, why would they do this, and why would they do the cattle mutilations? Like, what is?
Yeah.
Is there any speculation?
Some. So some of it is a demonstration. I mean, it seemed to be a demonstration to get their attention. This trickster element has been reported in other places around the world. There's no hot spot quite like Skinwalker, and I know how weird it sounds. There's no spot like that because there's no spot that's been studied to that extent. The NIDS guys were there for, well, Bigelow owned the property for 20 years. NIDS was active for 7 or 8. Then another secret study funded by the government came in under an organization called BASS. That was the money that Reed got. He got $22 million. It went to Bigelow as a contract, and they hired all these people and fanned out all over the world to try to find UFO information, but other related phenomena, things that wouldn't seem normally to be connected to UFOs, but which are. A guy from the DIA had read the book and became interested, and he asked for permission to go to the property. This guy's a double PhD, a brilliant rocket scientist who had seen it and thought there were national security implications, the hole in the sky in particular, with things coming in and out. He wondered if someone was using technology to make these things happen.
Film that hole in the sky?
No. Again, that's when the rancher is there by himself. So he's not a UFO guy. He's not trying to...
I understand. But is there any evidence of anything weird? Anything other than mutilated cows?
Well, let's see. The video of the camera that was torn up by something invisible. They had something that...
So in the video you can see the camera being torn apart?
You can't see anything. There's nothing. You can't see anything. You can see before it happens, it's normal, and afterward...
So I think
how much time is taking place between before and after?
I can't remember. But I mean, could that be hoaxed? Yeah, if Bigelow wanted to. But again, they weren't there to, in the beginning at least for NIDS, they weren't there to try to prove that aliens are visiting. They're just trying to figure out why all this weird stuff is happening in one spot.
Right.
It mixes in a lot of Native American lore that got mixed in the picture, but it's been going on in that Uinta Basin for 200 years. Why? Don't know.
I mean, our government has studied the so like what is evidence? It's so frustrating to me too. When I was introduced to the Skinwalker thing through George, man, I'm with you. Like, what's the evidence? What's going on? The weight of evidence is when you talk to people in the area and they all have these commonalities. Some people died of exotic cancers from burns from above where lights came down and hit them, and that's evidence. Their face is completely irradiated and they fucking died.
So there's the cow.
That's the cow. Yeah.
So you have a scientist like Dr. Colin Kelleher.
Hold on for a second. That's where they found it?
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Just what in the fuck can... That is so crazy. Now, did they scan the area to look for another spot where it could have been slaughtered before it was moved to this area?
Well, that's what they concluded, is it had to have been taken somewhere and slaughtered and then brought back. But
Jimmy, can
who
you make
does that?
that a little larger, please? Can you just zoom in on that? Because that doesn't look very surgical to me. That looks like wolves.
Yeah, it was. There's no.
Just.
They actually did an analysis, and it was done with 2 types of metallic tools.
But look at all the jagged edges.
They said they took samples and they sent them to 2 pathology labs. Didn't tell the guys what they're looking for. You tell us what you can see. And the pathologist said that 2 instruments had been used. One was a heavy machete type instrument that had been hacked, and then there was a scalpel that had surgically removed a lot of the flesh underneath.
It looks like something killed it and then they moved it to that spot. I mean, if I had to guess. The way it's eaten, though, I mean, it looks like it was eaten.
Well, there's no teeth marks. There are metallic marks. There's no teeth mark.
Meaning they
like
found...
a sliced.
Okay.
And
so something sharp sliced it.
So I think the bigger point is this was happening on this ranch with owners prior to owners prior to owners. I got to talk to a lot of people with it. So here's the deal, the connection of this. So George does this thing, he reports on this for 20 years. The government is now studying this ranch, right, because of deployment or because of all this weird stuff. Why is the government spending money through OSAP to study this ranch and other things? And that's where it gets really fucking interesting. What happens after with our government programs? And that's what you know.
This is before we get to that. This image, like the jagged edges around the rib cage, that's supposedly sliced. That looks like hacked. Okay.
I mean, look, it could, let's say it's people doing this, 2 farmers to get them out of there. Let's say it's some program. I mean, although the cattle mutilation thing, you gave me a stack of documents this big, has been studied by the FBI. It's happened all over the country.
Yeah.
No one has ever been caught, not a single person.
More than 10,000 cases.
With all the same types of cuts. I mean, this is not my expertise.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of that. It's really weird.
There is another theory.
Weird, and the lack of blood is the weirdest part of it. Because what makes sense to me is that something killed that. They butchered it, they chopped all the meat off of it, and then they removed the carcass from that area and dropped it out there.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like, if I had to guess.
That's what NIDS thinks.
There's no way that it was killed right there because you're seeing fresh, clean hay underneath it everywhere. There's no blood, which doesn't make any sense at all.
I think the question is this a government program? Is this something, or is this a scare tactic? It's been happening since the 50s. Like,
It's a weird scare tactic. Click on that one below it, Jamie, the brown one with the green. Yeah, that one, please. Thank you. That's a weird one, too. Like, there's like a hole cut out. And there's a bunch of these they found all over the country, and it was weirdness, like organs removed. But the weirdest part about it is it's almost always there's no blood.
Yeah, I just investigated one, which I never thought I would do, but I got a call from a guy in Texas.
You have to see it physically?
Yeah, so right before lockdown, I go out and I'm like, this is so wild, I gotta check this out. The guy calls me, it's a pretty freshy one at this point. Now, I'm no expert, but I went and got samples and took them to labs and this sort of thing to see if there were tools used. So here's my experience.
Did you get pictures of this?
Yeah, I filmed the whole thing.
You have it on your phone?
I'll show you after I got it on my phone, yeah. So, I got great fucking photos, weird
Well,
shit.
listen, man, airdrop them to me now. We'll send them to Jamie and we'll put it up on the screen so other people can see.
Oh, okay, so let me...
Yeah, after the show is not going to help us.
While you're looking, I'll tell them about one of the theories about the cattle mutilations that Dr. Colin Kelleher developed was that somebody is tracking the spread of like mad cow prions through the food supply, and that they've been doing it under the guise of UFOs, since no one would take UFOs and cattle mutilation seriously. They just do it in helicopters, and instead of just stealing these cattle, they're tracking how far these indestructible prions travel through the food supply, because it's in cattle, it's in pigs, it gets fed into chickens and things of that in feed, it's in deer. It's called chronic wasting disease in some circles. It's just weird.
Well, chronic wasting disease that's a different prion disease than mad cow.
Well, it's a variation. Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease, I think, too. So the same kinds of things in different species. It is indestructible. Again, it's got this, and you grind it up and you feed it to pigs. The pigs get it.
Yeah.
And then it can be passed on to other species, and it shows up in different ways. Kelleher was exploring the idea, well, whether or not it might be the cause of Alzheimer's or a version of mad cow in humans.
Do you
They're all going to you right now. This is
I
a
don't see
recent.
it.
Oh, it says downloading. So, I'm downloading them, and then.
Oh, right. Are you on the Wi-Fi?
No, but it's coming through. Here you go. It's about to go to you. It says
Oh,
waiting.
okay, got it.
Yeah.
Boom.
I mean, I guess this does highlight, because this is my very limited amount of.
Can you send those to Jamie too? Jamie, can you
Yeah,
put your airdrop on?
AirDrop, Jamie?
Sorry. Should have to do that right away. It's ready to roll.
All
His
right.
airdrop is open.
I don't see you, bro.
Bro.
Hold on. There we go. Young James.
So this is the stuff that you physically encountered.
Okay.
You physically saw this cow, and I'm
Yes.
looking at these images right now, and we're going to show them
Sure.
in a second. And this is, you said Texas?
Yeah. So.
Where in Texas?
Oh gosh, what's the name of it? The Panhandle. And I'm blanking. So here's the deal. Oh yeah, that's it. So I made the movie based on George's work of the same title, Hunt for the Skinwalker, right? And that movie was telling this story about how the United States government was studying this property of land because of UFOs and weird stuff. That and weird stuff included things like cattle.
Pull up this one. There's a lot of weird images, man. This the skin removed around the face.
Right. So this was
including the skull.
This is my first chance to see this for myself, because last time I was on your show, it was the ones in Oregon had just happened up at that ranch, and I thought, well, okay, if I'm ever going to do it, now's the time to do it. So I go, I get this call. Now, remind you, this is a rancher. This is their livelihood. It's this huge area of land.
Right there. Stop right there.
They're a very religious community. We go out to the middle of this land, and in the middle, there's this dead cow.
No blood.
No blood. And he had seen it prior, and the reason he called me is because in my movie, you could see this special kind of slice, like a jagged slice that is common to these types of things they think are real mutilations. And he was looking at it, he's like, that's exactly like in the movie. Now, this is a straight shooter. He's a religious guy. He had to ask his pastor if he could even go on camera with me. It freaks him out. So he sees this. Now, he sees dead animals all the time.
And he saw this cow, you said, before?
Accidentally, he was out shooting BB guns with his kid, and he's on this big part of land, and he sees this down bull, and he goes over to it, and he's looking at it, and it's unlike anything he has ever seen in all of his years before. It had surgical cuts. There is no doubt somebody cut up this animal with those classic, the ear gone, two types of tools, like a scissor type. But by the way, I tried to cut it. It is not easy to cut. So they had sharp tools, and then there's a very thin slice kind of cut. So I got to take it, get samples, take them to labs, and try to see what type of tools did this. How did they do this with no blood on the ground? And all the soil around it was dead. So I was like, well, why is it all dead? Is that a natural thing? So I took soil samples and took them to a lab. And again, I'm outside of my... This is weird to me.
Okay.
But I think it's a real phenomenon. Somebody is killing these animals.
Someone.
However you want to say it. Someone is killing these animals in a highly specified technical way that has been repeated since the 50s on. Our FBI has studied it. He has shown me so many reports of these in association with discs, saucers.
Did this guy have any association with discs or saucers or anything?
No, he's just a guy that owns the land.
So he just found this cattle that's weirdly mutilated.
Somebody killed it.
Yeah.
And he's like, is this demonic? Is this some sort of Satanist thing? I said, I don't think so, man. This goes back in history.
Like, I'm looking at the cuts specifically. They're very unimpressive. That doesn't look like a laser did it or some incredibly sharp scalpel.
No, it was like a serrated. One was a serrated tool, and the other.
That's the thing I'm saying. It's like something that we could do.
Oh, absolutely. We'd have to somehow do it though in Texas land, where the guy would shoot you in the face if you go and try to touch one of his cows. And that's the other thing. No one's ever been caught. Never.
That's what's weird.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's frustrating too. I mean, I've been to the ranch, the Skinwalker Ranch in the Basin, more than 24 times. I've never seen anything. I've interviewed the neighbors, I've interviewed the scientists. These are PhD level guys who had seen this stuff. A lot of times they have cameras that fail. I mean, it's, you know, you've heard that story before, and it's very convenient that it happens just when some giant disk shows up, but it does happen. That their car batteries would die in the same spot. Whatever it was messed with them. And maybe it's humans, maybe it is human technology, but no humans were ever found to be doing this stuff. NIDS was there for all those years. They didn't want to tell anybody about it. They shared the information with me, but you can't publish it. There's no real physical proof, so they just left it there. And I had tried to do a documentary. Ended up, I talked to them and let me write a book about it. But, you know, if you're looking for physical evidence and solid proof, and they don't have it. You know?
What's the primary theory? Are there any primary theories of why they do this to cows? Why someone's doing this to cows?
You know,
You need to catch somebody and ask them. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, that's
really,
look, man.
really weird that no one's been caught.
To the studio comes a guy named John Lear, and I had heard sort of a little bit about it. I developed the Learjet, the 8-track tape. John had run for the state senate, and he had a certain amount of credibility with our news organization, KLAS-TV, because he had helped us break a really big story. And the story was the stealth fighter, the F-117. He had told my boss, Ned Day, managing editor, about this amazing plane that was invisible to radar flying up in Tonopah in Area 51. We had an interest in Area 51, not UFO related, but Ned broke that story. It went national. So John Lear comes into the station one day with a stack of what turned out to be UFO documents. He plops them on Ned's desk and says, Ned, this is going to be the next biggest story, the biggest story in history. It's a UFO cover-up. Aliens are here. Technology's been recovered. Ned takes a look at it and says, I'm not doing this story. If it was true, I'd already know about it. This is crazy. Well, I'm eavesdropping, as I tend to do. I'm a curious person. So as he's going out, I said, Lear, let me take a look at this material. And I looked at it, I thought, well, this is kind of interesting. At the time, I was producing and hosting this little public affairs show, 30-minute interview show. It would air Sunday morning at 6 o'clock. Nobody watches it. It would be interviewing a city councilman, a county commissioner. What the heck, I'll put Lear on there. And I let him go. And he told me this big scenario about secret treaties with aliens and recovered technology and a giant cover-up. Some of the information sounded outrageous. Some of it seemed like it would be worth checking out. Suddenly the phone starts ringing off the hook. I'm getting calls about people that, who was that guy? What was the deal on that UFO stuff? Is it real? I had him on again 6 months later, and the response was bigger. I had him on a third time with a guy named Bill Cooper. I regret that. And he told him an even more elaborate conspiracy.
He's the Behold the Pale Horse guy?
Yes.
Yeah, I read that book, and halfway through I was like, what in the fuck is this?
Yeah. He tied in the JFK assassination. And,
bases on the moon, aliens are there right now.
He had this scenario where he had seen these documents when he was in the Navy, and He's going to tell the world about it, then he's going to go away. Well, every time he told the story, the documents got bigger and bigger, and anybody who criticized Bill Cooper became part of the secret government, including me. So we do this third show with Lear, and he hints that he knows a guy who might be going to work out at Area 51 and knows something about alien technology. That guy turns out to be Bob Lazar, but Lear didn't give me the name at that time. A couple months later, I am anchoring the 5 o'clock news on KLAS, and we have a nightly or evening interview segment, 5-minute segment, live interview. Our guest doesn't show up, and we're scrambling to find somebody to fill that hole. And I thought about Lear, so I called him up, not knowing what had been going on in Lazar's life or Lear's life. And I said, hey, is your that UFO guy you told me about, is he around? Would he do an interview? Just turned out that Bob had been through the ringer and a lot of stuff going on in his life. He felt threatened, and he said yes. We had to block out his space. We do this interview, and he spills the basics of the story. I worked out there at a place called S4. I saw 9 flying saucers in an underground base. This is technology that came from somewhere else. I'm in fear for my life. Holy cow, the phones start ringing off the hook. My news director comes rushing in, the station manager, is that for real? What's the deal on that? And we realized we had touched the pulse of the public in a way that I didn't really understand. We arranged to go meet Bob Lazar, my news director, Bob Stolall, and I, that following weekend, and put him through paces where we would ask him questions about his background and how he got the job. We spent a couple hours with him, and we walked out of that meeting thinking, holy shit, what if this is true? This is really risky for us as journalists. It's risky for our personal reputations if it blows up in our faces when we do this story, and it would really damage the reputation of our news organization, which is KLAS is a jewel. It's always been a leader in Las Vegas, one of the best TV news operations in the country. We're putting a lot on the line. Well, look, we decide, let's take our time. Let's look into this guy's story. And then in order to understand Lazar, we'd have to look at the bigger picture of UFOs. So I started a cram course on ufology, and I read everything. And I spent 8 months like cramming for a final exam that never happened. I read everything. I interviewed people. That same year, MUFON had its international symposium in Las Vegas, and all the world's UFO people came right to me. I got to interview them, traveled around, went to Los Alamos. Lazar took us into the lab. We took cameras in there. He walked us around, waving to people. We didn't even have to stop for security. Took us into the lab like it was a rabbit going through its own burrow. He knew his way around. We were allowed to take a camera in there. We put those stories together, put them on the air in November, and man, it just went through the roof. Every night of this 9-part series, people got the audience got bigger, phones ringing off the hook, people calling, giving us information. Suddenly, it's on something called Paranet, which was sort of a precursor to the internet, and it was huge, and it changed my life for sure. I had no idea that there were so many people out there interested in the topic, and I was hooked. And I really got hooked on Lazar, not only because his story, personally, I was interested in him. We became friends. I saw what happened to him after that live interview, and in the 7.5 months before we went and I revealed his identity, people were really messing with him. I mean, you cannot convey what it was like, how weird it was then, breaking into his house, leaving the windows open, messing with things in his home, breaking into his car, leaving the doors and windows down, just messing with his head.
And you think that was the government that was doing that?
Yeah, I do. I think so. And then, so I had put out a call to people, hey, I want other people to come forward.
This is before his identity was revealed. Yeah, we should explain this.
I am actively seeking information from the public. If you ever worked at Area 51 or S4, you know anything about this, you're at Nellis Air Force Base, reach out to me. So I started getting calls, and 6 people right in a row who had talked to me on the phone and offered to give me information were visited right after the call. One of them was a guy who did tax returns for people at Nellis Air Force Base, and he had got to know these guys really well and got information about crashes. There was a guy who was a golf pro at Nellis who had gone on road trips with officers and told him about this weird stuff out at Area 51 that seemed to be from somewhere else. He gets visited and told to shut up. There was a lady who worked in the court system. A cop told me about her, and I talked to her on the phone, and she had worked at the court system, but before she had worked for a company called Harper, which is a defense contractor, and she said she sat in as a meetings, and heard these conversations between the government contractors and Air Force officials about crashed saucers. And they would, after the meeting, they take the tape and destroy it and take all the notes, and she agreed to tell me the story. It was just a tiny piece of the story. The next day, she's visited by these two guys in suit. They tell her, look, you are still subject to your security clearance. I hope you know that. And then they said, we know you traveled to LA to see your daughter, and we know she comes here. It's a big desert out there. It'd be terrible if something happened to either one of you. This lady is scared shitless. She didn't make that stuff up. So 6 people who had offered to give me information on the phone, one right after another, get visited, and it made me mad. It also made me mad that dealing with, trying to fill in pieces of Bob Lazar's life. I know there's some gaping holes. I know it better than anybody. I've had to deal with it for 31 years. But I always thought if he worked at Los Alamos in classified projects in a scientific or technical capacity, then it would make sense that he could get hired into a program like S4 as somebody who thinks outside the box. Despite personal shortcomings or whatever, they might bring somebody like him in to help them crack a problem that they hadn't been able to resolve themselves. So I focused on Los Alamos. I knew he had been there. I talked to people who remembered him from being there, but the lab kept telling me, no record of him. He's never here. And then I showed him, well, look, I've got the Los Alamos newspaper. It's a small town paper. There it is on the front page story. Bob Lazar, physicist, Mason facility, Los Alamos lab. It's a story about his jet car. No, still have no records of him. And then I found his name in the phone book from the era when he was there. He's in the lab phone book. He had been hired by a company called Kirkmeyer, which is a company that's a headhunter that fills positions at Los Alamos and places like that. So great, I'll reach out to Kirkmeyer. They said, yeah, we hired him. Yeah, we've got records. Can I get it? Can I get his employment records that would show where he went to school, whatever information you guys had? Yes. A couple weeks go by, nothing. Couple more weeks go by, I call him again, I start writing them. I've got a stack of letters that thick that went on for 2.5 years, and finally by the end of it, they said he was never here. We don't have any records. That pissed me off. It made me mad, and I think that is really what got me hooked in the story, is that I was being jacked around by government and national facilities like that.
We should explain the Los Alamos thing, because the Los Alamos thing coincided with him doing work at MIT, right? Is that correct?
That's how he's explained it to me. Yeah.
And the way he explained it to me, I don't think I'm at liberty to say what the project was, because the project, the way he was describing it, is essentially internationally illegal, like what they were working on. And that's one of the reasons why he was saying, he explained what the project was. It sounded very feasible, also very evil. And then it was basically a weapon. And then he said that this is the reason why there was no actual record of him studying at MIT. It wasn't important that he got a degree. It was important that he understand the technical specifications of what they were attempting to accomplish.
That's my understanding as well. And, it's always been the most problematic part of his background. And it's where a lot of people in the Bob Lazar story, that's where they stop.
But the thing is, when you listen to him talk and when he describes things, it's very clear he's educated.
Oh, he's a brilliant guy. Yeah. But I had always told him, and Bob, you're my friend. I want to have a conversation with you about these claimed degrees, because I didn't believe that he'd ever sat down. Those days you go to a college like MIT or Caltech and get a degree, you've got to take classes in something other than science. I could not imagine Bob Lazar taking an English lit class to save his life. But he is a brilliant guy. I'll give you an example. In April, COVID thing is raging. My wife and I are staying at home. We're getting packages delivered for food and things of that sort. I'm a little worried. They didn't know about contact, whether you can get it off of cardboard boxes or whatever. And I mentioned to Bob in a phone conversation, I'm thinking about buying one of these UV screener systems. He goes, wait a second, don't buy one. I think I've got the parts that I can make you one in my garage. And a week later it arrives, this thing, he's got it in his garage, handmade, this big scanner with these UV things that don't work. So he just whipped it up in his garage.
I'll remind you, you got the scanner. I got a laser gun.
Right.
You got a laser gun?
I did, man. It is super powerful. So it's like a handheld toy that he retrofitted with a superpower. So I'm like lighting shit on fire in my house.
So it looks like a handheld toy, but it's actually a real laser?
It's a toy with full noise, but he put a diode in there, and it's super powerful. Like it can light shit on fire. My wife hates that shit. So I got the laser gun.
You also got the flamethrower, though. Lazar made a flamethrower. This is before your buddy Elon made flamethrowers.
No comment on that.
Yeah, well,
it's a massive.
He made a flamethrower.
Massive.
Yeah, he's obviously a very intelligent man. When you listen to him talk, there's no bullshitting going on. When he talks about when he talks about undeniable, concrete things, when it comes to science, when it comes to elements, when it comes to propulsion systems, he clearly knows what he's talking about. And the really confusing thing for people that are detractors is he really hasn't changed his story in 31 years. It really is the same story. And that's really hard to do. Even if you tell a true story, 31 years later, you get it screwed up a little bit. It's hard. Like, when you're calling on 30, like, if I had to remember things from 31 years ago, that's like from 1 year into stand-up comedy 31 years ago. I don't remember it. I barely, like, I'm going to tell you, like, oh, yeah, it was a Sunday night, and then my friend Greg go, actually, it was Wednesday. Oh, yeah, you're right, it was Wednesday. Who was the host? You know, we'll have, I don't know, it's a blurry slideshow. But Bob has been remarkably consistent. The only thing that he's vacillated on, we varied a little bit, is whether or not he saw an alien or whether or not he saw someone who was looking at something that was the size of an alien, like a small figure, like whether or not they were trying to determine how large a creature would have to be to use one of those small crafts. Because the crafts were very small in terms of like for a human being. It was more like something that was built for a child. And he walked by a window and looked inside, and in some of the earlier discussions of it, he believed that he might have seen an alien. But he was really clear that he only saw it for literally a second as he was walking by. He saw something, and again, you know how the brain works in memory. You can really plant false memories. Everybody wants to pretend their memory is so good. Memories are terrible.
Well, Bob admitted from the beginning. Remember, with the first interview we did, I think it was June of '89, so it was a little after we did that live interview, but months before we went with his ID. And that was really, we recorded it in case something happened to him. He was afraid he was going to be killed. There were a lot of really weird things going on, and I was worried about it too. I wanted to get it on the record in case suddenly he disappeared. So we recorded this long interview, and always he downplays stuff like that. That's an example.
Yeah.
I saw something that was that size. I don't believe it was an alien. It was just a glimpse. Maybe they're messing with my head. He also admits that they did mess with his head. That he had to, they underwent some kind of hypnosis, that they made him drink this weird green liquid.
Probably LSD.
Well, maybe.
They said it was an allergy test. But yeah, I mean, but, you know, to your point, just real quick, is after 30 years, it's not that he changed his story, he's changed. So when I was interviewing him, you know, he cracked the book back open with me. It was like he was saying, the science and technology is what I know. I had my hands on that. I can't attest to what I read in the documents. Yeah, I saw something for a brief millisecond through a fucking window, but I don't know what that was. So people have taken what he said and exaggerated it. Bob has always been skeptical of the things he didn't have his hands on, and I admire that. And he's changed as a human. As a human, he's matured. So now he's saying, okay, let me look at it rationally. I don't know what I saw through that window.
Right.
And I appreciate that. He's so straight.
Yeah, he's very straight.
You know, various scenarios have popped up over the years about why he came forward. There are people who believe he just made it up. He was trying to make money, or he wanted attention. There are people who believe it's government disinformation to distract attention from something else that was going on out there. Or they believe both of them, which, you know, they would seem to be mutually exclusive. Bob would admit that he had no business being there, that there were much more qualified people to work on those kind of things. Maybe he was a guy who thinks outside the box, who might give a new slant on trying to figure this stuff out that they had for decades and had not been able to duplicate.
We should explain that a little bit. The Los Alamos lab story was him. He put a jet engine on a Honda.
Right.
It was a functional jet car that he built himself. So he was a legitimate propulsion expert, and again, like a super science nerd. Like, where he got his education is what's weird, right?
I finally got an interview with the guy that wrote that article 2 weeks ago. So the guy, Terry English, finally, after all this time, he called me back 3 years late. You know what I mean? We'd love to put him in the movie. And I said, look, here's the point. You said Bob Lazar was a physicist at Los Alamos. So how did you base that? You're writing a paper. And he goes, yeah, and it got picked up by AP News. He goes, if I had misrepresented that he was a physicist at Los Alamos, I would have been blackballed by everybody at Los Alamos. They take that very seriously. He was a physicist. I reported it. AP News picked it up. They repeated it. Not word one from anybody saying he wasn't a physicist at Los Alamos. It's little things like that that, you know, nothing Bob has ever said have I found out.
Yeah. This is a real hot
Yeah,
rod.
and he did the story because the car was badass. When he fired it up,
When he has a history of this, he also made a hydrogen-powered Corvette later on. Yeah, he's a wizard. He's a very smart guy.
You know, he will admit to you that maybe he was picked for the job. They figured, all right, in case he blabs, we can discredit this guy like that. When we're done with him, there's things in his background. He likes to blow things up. He likes explosives. He had a pirate flag on his house at the time that I first met him. He liked machine guns. He had an illegal fireworks show that would go out in the desert every year that became a world-class event.
Alright, I'm about to go get something to eat. And I guess I'm gonna watch some people play Ghost of Tsushima. Alright. Got some buggies in my nose. Shit. Alright, turn some of this hot stuff off. Ugh. So we're going to start on the water. No. Actually, I might start on the sky the next time. There's a good chance I'll be back in here later this evening, because I ain't got nothing else to do. Try to eat, veg out on some video games or some TV for a minute, watch some Black Jesus or some YouTube, and then come back up in here and whip out some bigger brushes. I just wanted to get that portion done, because it's not a lot of skin tone on there, so we got the skin tone portion done. Now we can kind of like see how fast we can fill in the background on here for the underpainting. Get this underpainting filled in, then we need to jump back onto the Jesus washing the feet thing and get that one wrapped up. There's some kind of beep or something. was that? Thought it was a damn fire alarm or something. Anyway. Yeah, do this underpainting, finish the Jesus painting, come back to this painting. I can already tell I'm gonna have fun doing this, yo. All that water, I'm really excited about doing that big ass body of water with the greens and the blues in there. That's gonna be pretty fun. Alright. Fans are off, speaker is off, laptop is off, overhead light is off, and I'm out of here. Catch y'all guys next time. Peace.